So today I thought we'd have a chat about choosing colour schemes for your projects. And I've been keeping this little sketchbook with all of my little sketches of autumnal inspiration on different things. Now these are neater than my sketchbooks normally are because I was fairly sure I'd be showing them on camera. But normally my sketchbooks are fairly random. But one of the things I like to do is to try out different sketches, different types of drawing, and use what I create to help me choose the best colours for final projects. I wanted to do a project where I looked at silver birches. So recently went on holiday up to the Cairngorms and was really struck by all of the silver birch trees. A lot of the young, kind of like beautiful, elegant trees, and then some like really old, kind of gnarled ones covered in lichen and all sorts of things. But I thought I'd do a project based on silver birches. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do at this point, but I want to use the inspiration that I've gathered to help me choose some colours for the project. So I've taken some photos of silver birch bark close up just to give me a sense of the colours and the patterns in it. And then there are some of the trees, like as a whole, on their own, or in little clusters, in groups. And then this is a close-up of some of the lichen that was on some of the older silver birch trees. So I may use that for a project on its own, I'm not sure, but I really love some of these shapes in here. So as well as the photos that I've taken, sometimes I do a Google image search for the subject that I want to paint. Not so that I can paint any individual one, but so that I get a sense of the shape and the form of the subject that I'm going to paint. And a lot of these are paintings anyway, so I want to find the photos like these to give me a sense of what it is that I want to paint. So I might do some thumbnail sketches based on what I find here, but I wouldn't do a whole painting based on somebody else's photo. Gathering inspiration from lots of different photos, lots of different trees and lots of different angles, gives you a better sense of how to improvise around the subject. So you're able to kind of create something that that is unique and is totally yours because you've spent time studying the forms of the trees and the patterns of the bark in lots of different kind of contexts. So what am I going to use out of all of this lot? Well, one of the things when you get into watercolour, you start being tempted by all of these extra colours that you go, oh, that's pretty, oh, that's nice, oh, I'll buy that one, and you keep adding them to the set. So I've now branched out into a second palette. So I've got a nice little kind of travel sized palette here, and then I've got like a main palette. But there's so much choice here, it can be a bit overwhelming. So I'm going to show you how to choose from these, but also I'm going to show you how to get a similar look with a kind of the set of paints I kind of started with. So this is a set of Cotman paints from Winsor and Newton, and these are the kind of the affordable range. And then these ones here are a mix, mostly they're Winsor and Newton professional range, and then I've got some Daniel Smith colours in there as well. But this is what a lot of people start off with. And these are what I use in workshops and things, so I'm going to show you how to get a similar look, whatever colour palette you choose, how to get a similar look with a limited selection of colours. So the silver birches, the trunks are fairly simple, they're kind of mostly going to be white, maybe a little bit of neutral colour in there, and a neutral colour you can mix from pretty much anything. So it's the kind of the rest of what I want to paint that's going to need me to think about the colours. So I want to think about doing silver birches in a landscape, and so I'm going to start with green for the leaves, and one of my go-to greens that I quite like as a ready mixed one is this olive green. I find it much more natural green than sap green, but there's nothing wrong with any of the other greens, I use them as well, but this one I think works quite nicely kind of out of the pot. So I'm going to do a little swatch of that over here. There we go. Now, if you look at silver birch leaves, they've got quite a light ethereal look and they're kind of silvery. So I want something to kind of dull this green down And then I want something to kind of make it a bluier, slatier colour as well. So I'm going to add a blue into this green, and let's try Prussian blue because it's quite a nice shade of blue, and I think they complement each other. So let's add some of that into my green, and let's see what colour we get over here. So that's quite nice. And you can do maybe a bit more blue in there, make it a bit more different to the olive green. And then I want to dull it down, and to make the green more neutral I can add in something that's got a bit of red in it. So you could just go for a straight red, but if I pick something that's more on the brown side, I can use it in more of the landscapes, and it'll blend quite nicely. So I've got lots of different browns. I think I'm going to go for the sepia because it's quite cool, and it's going to give me quite a kind of neutral colour that I can work into the rest of the painting. So let's mix some sepia and some of that olive green. Put that there. And that gives me a really nice kind of dull neutral green. That's going to be a really useful colour. So yeah, so then if I was doing silver birch trees in spring or summer, this might be quite a nice kind of neutral palette for that. But I want to paint them kind of slightly going into autumn. So I want some of the leaves to be tinged with yellows and oranges. So this brown's quite nice, but it's not going to give me a nice kind of vibrant autumnal colour, so I think I need to pick something else. I could go for the Winsor orange, that's going to be really bright. I could go for burnt sienna or burnt umber. I think I'll try burnt sienna. So let's try that there. Need a little bit more water in there and give it a bit more time to get some pigment released. There, that's better. So now I can see what the burnt sienna looks like mixed with the olive green. And there, that's a really nice kind of, I don't even know what colour that is. But yeah, that's going to be a lovely kind of greeny, browny colour that's got a bit more vibrance to it than this one. And then I want something quite bright. So I want a yellow, and I could use more of a gold. So like the quinacridone gold I use a lot, and yellow ochre, raw sienna, all of those kind of colours are like really natural kind of orangey, earthy yellows. But I think to give it that real autumnal look, I might go for something brighter. So I could go for the Winsor yellow, or this one here is called Aureolin. Let's try the Winsor yellow. This is really vibrant. Oh yeah. And that just adds like a really bright touch to that kind of colour palette. So again, let's see what that yellow looks like mixed with the green. That's going to give me a really nice vibrant kind of limey yellowy green colour. So I've got a whole range of different greens here that I can play with. So I'm going to want something for the sky, so I'm going to try and mix the Prussian blue and the sepia together and see if I can get like a grey, cloudy, overcast sky kind of feel. Let's put that in there. And that, let's try a bit more blue in there. Yeah, that's nice. That's got that like cloudy autumn day kind of feel to it. So then this would be my colour palette. These are the original pigments, and then these are what I'd mix up from that. So the whole piece would look like a combination of all of these colours. So I could go ahead and make this into a painting, but I could also see what happens if I just change any one of these colours. So I think I'm going to change the blue. The Prussian blue is really nice, it's got that kind of coolness to it. But I want to see what happens if I use either an indigo or a Payne's grey instead, because I've got this kind of range of colours here, but they're all kind of quite similar tones. And I know that the indigo and the Payne's grey that I've got a lot of pigment in them, so you can get some really dark colours. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if I mix that up. So I'm going to make another column here with the same original swatches, except let's go for indigo there instead of the Prussian blue. And there's my sepia. There's my burnt sienna. And there's that same yellow. And I'm only going to change one colour. You could change several just to see what difference it makes. And I think you can already see that this indigo is much darker than the Prussian blue is. So let's try them again. So the mixes again. So I'm going to mix the green and the indigo. And that's nice, I like that. I like the tones in this, I think, better than that. I think it feels richer. Okay, so this one was the indigo and, this one was the Prussian blue and the sepia. So let's mix indigo and sepia. Let's see. Oh yes, that's nice. Stormy, overcast, bluey grey sky colour. And then the rest of the colours would be the same here, but let's mix some indigo into more things just to see what we get. So I'm going to try indigo and the burnt sienna together. Let's put that down there. Oh, that's really interesting. I'm just going to drop a bit more burnt sienna in there. A bit more indigo. See what happens when they mix on the page. That's quite fun. And then let's try the indigo and the yellow. That should give me a nice green. So it gives me a nice green, but it's a bit artificial. So I think I probably won't use that one. So yeah, so what else haven't I mixed together? Let's try the sepia and the burnt sienna. And let's put them in there. So let's put the burnt sienna in, and then let's just mix them on the page. Drop some sepia into it. There we go. So then this will give me a similar range of colours, but I'll be able to get some more dark colours in there because of that indigo. The difficulty is that it's so powerful, it's very hard to kind of tame it, so it's very hard to just add a really small amount. So I've got to be aware of that if I use this selection of colours. So now I want to show you how to get a similar kind of look with the kind of the basic paint set. Now I've lost the labels for some of these, so I can't remember exactly what colours they are, but I think this is the green that's in there, and it's a sap green. So let's put that on there, and you'll see how it's much brighter green, like it's got more yellow in it than the olive green. And then let's see, there's a couple of blues. Let's see, that's the kind of the cool blue. It's quite vibrant, quite bright. And then browns. So we've got a couple of different browny colours here. I think that this is burnt umber and burnt sienna. Yeah, that looks pretty much the same as that one, which is the burnt sienna from my Winsor and Newton set. And then a yellow. Let's see, it might be lemon yellow, something like that. So I've got a kind of, I don't know, these colours feel a bit more vibrant, a bit more bright. So what I need to do to get this kind of range of colours is just to mix them together a little bit more. So let's try and mix this colour here, which is going to be the green, tiny bit of the blue. That's giving me more of a bluey green, but it's still really bright. So what shall I do? I can add in one of these browns and just tone it down a bit. Maybe a bit red. So let's mix in that brown. And let's see. So yes, it's not totally dissimilar to this kind of colour. So for that I mixed the green, the blue and this brown together. So then the Stormy Night colour, this is going to be a little bit harder. So we're going to start with this blue, but it's really bright, we need to tone it down. So I can use some of the brown and tone it down quite a bit. And it's looking a bit green, so I could just add a little bit of red into there, maybe a bit more blue. Got to get the balance right. There we go. So a tiny little bit of red, which I haven't swatched here, gives me a kind of a stormy night kind of colour, stormy sky kind of colour. It's maybe even still a little bit on the greeny side, so I can add in a little bit more red to make it more of a neutral kind of grey. And then what colour I'm going to try and mix next. So this one here is a mixture of the olive green and the sepia. Let's see if I can get a match for that. And I'm just going to start by making a nice puddle of these different greens on my palette. And it's not looking bad. I think if I add a little bit more brown into it. There we go. Maybe even a bit more brown. There we go. So that's not dissimilar to that one. The green and the burnt sienna. So let's take some of the green, try some of that burnt sienna in it, and it's quite a nice colour. It's not totally the same as this, but it's similar. And then like a limey green, let's try that green with some of that yellow. And that does give me a very bright green, but I think it's maybe a bit too much. I'm going to add just a drop of brown into it. There we go. And so from this kind of palette of very bright colours, I've got all of these muddy neutral greens, which is what I'd use to paint my silver birch piece. So I've got 3 different options here. I think I'm going to use this middle one. So I'm going to use this this little selection of colours here, which will give me a nice range of greens, and I've got some nice kind of darks in there as well, which I can use to create shadows, yeah, I think I'm going to use this one. So you'll be able to see the results of this on Friday when the video of my silver birch project goes live. So I hope this was helpful, and if you find it useful, then please do put a comment down below. And if you'd like to see more videos from me, then you can subscribe to the channel. And the silver birch project, which I'm going to be painting, is going to be live on Friday. So I look forward to seeing you then. Okay, thanks very much. Bye bye.